Thank you for joining me today, guys. I have a great video here for you today. It is a Joe Rogan classic where Joe Rogan meets up with Robert Bigelow. He talks about Bob Lazar, and as you all know, Robert Bigelow used to own the haunted, infamous Skinwalker Ranch from 1996 to 2016. So I want to share this with you guys today. It is a classic, rare opportunity, so don't forget to smash that like button and smash that subscribe button. Well, let's get into it. Also, love you guys, and I appreciate you watching and supporting my channel. Alright.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
You had encounters with Bob Lazar. You know Bob. You were around when Bob Lazar...
Oh, is this going to be all about the Mylar balloon event?
What's the Mylar balloon event?
Oh, you don't know that one?
No.
We all jump in my car to go out to the Alien Inn area out there.
The Alien Inn, is that...
out there.
Yeah, it's like a
bar
or something.
North of that area. Bob and Lazar, George Knapp, myself, and I think Gene Huff, who was Bob's friend. We all go out there. Well, unbeknownst to me, Bob has a Mylar balloon, which really bounces the radar signature a lot for its size, and a bottle of gas, helium. We find our way back out in the desert out there. I'm thinking we're on a UFO watch, which is sometimes the best thing is the food you take along, right? And you're out there under the stars, and it's nice, and you have a good time just watching. There's a rustle of things going on here, and next thing I know, there's a balloon, this Mylar balloon's inflated, and there's a slight breeze, and Bob lets it go. And we're on the opposite side of the mountain range from supposedly S4. And he wants to go that way. Thank God the wind was going in the opposite direction. It was traveling north instead of south. And it went the wrong way, So I'm thinking, my life's just passed before my eyes.
Why do you think your life passed before your eyes? Because if the balloon goes towards Area S4...
It's going to get picked up,
and then they're going to go find out where it came from.
And Wackenhut Security is going to come get us, and I'm going to spend the night in jail.
Right.
So, it all just unraveled real quick.
And was this before Bob had gotten in trouble for bringing people to the observation point to watch? Because let's tell the story about Bob real quick. Bob said he worked for Area S4, and he was hired to back engineer what they believe were alien crafts. Along the lines, he had this top secret clearance, and along the lines of all this happening, they're monitoring his phone calls. Turns out Bob's wife is having an affair. Bob doesn't know about this. They remove him from the project because they believe he'll be emotionally unstable. He's freaking out, not knowing, A, that his wife is having an affair, not knowing why he's pulled from this project, doesn't totally understand. So starts telling people about what he's doing and telling people, listen, I can take you to a place where once a week they do these tests. So he starts bringing people to this area. They see these objects flying in these spectacular ways that we really can't do with any of our conventional aircrafts. And then Bob gets in trouble for that. Then Bob goes on the George Knapp show and starts explaining all these different things, presumably for self-preservation. As the best way to probably protect your own life is to go public with this and explain everything that's happening. And they can discredit you and make you look like a nut, but if they kill you, then it leads credence to your story.
It gives you a very huge hardship.
So when do you fall into the story?
Well, you've just given me an overload of information now that I'm pretty much aware of, but I don't know exactly when. I don't think, as I recall it, everybody was pretty much at ease, and it wasn't part of...
What year is this that this is all going on?
Oh, God. I don't know, 91?
So this is around that time. This is around...
91,
when was he
92.
on George Knapp's show?
Yeah, somewhere in that time frame. But I wasn't aware of a lot until I don't think at that time I was aware of him taking people out on, Wednesday nights to go see something out there. I kind of missed out on that or whatever. And I don't think this was anything like connected to that.
I think that was before this.
Yeah, probably.
I think you're dealing with him out after, he had met George and after he had told his story.
Yeah.
Because George is with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously they had already met. You're a person that has a deep fascination with UFOs. Now here you are talking to this guy who's clearly a genius, brilliant guy, Bob Lazar, and he's telling you this fucking bananas story. He's out there back engineering spacecrafts that came from another land that are using this element 115, this stuff that's just a theoretical element that wasn't even proven by particle collider until 2013, somewhere along that line. Like, it was just theoretical up to that point. So he's telling you about all this stuff. What did you think?
I wanted to reserve judgment until I knew a lot more, and the more he talked, the more interesting it became. The more research that George did, things that he uncovered, it became more interesting. A while back, I think George was doing an interview with me, and I said, I wouldn't bet against the truth of the majority of everything that Bob has said. I wouldn't bet against it. Could they be errors and omissions for different reasons? Yeah, sure they could. I would tend to say Bob is legitimate. There's certain aspects of things that are parts of stories that you wonder, well, how could this happen and so forth. But I think if you take all of the collective information and the work that George Knapp has done to validate things, it's awfully damn impressive.
But George is such an important part of it because he's a legitimate investigative journalist, and that was his career. And so he poured himself into this.
Oh, yeah.
And exposed all the different aspects of this story that seem to indicate that he's telling the truth.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
and that's what's crazy about it.
And George is not any normal journalist. He's like what? He has like 6 Peabodys.
Yes, he's fantastic.
And
so he's diving into this, the more he uncovers, the more it seems like Bob Lazar's story is legitimate.
Right. So I think I like the philosophy of reserving judgment until you have a preponderance of evidence that really moves you one way or another. You don't have to have 100%. I go by reasonable doubt.
But what was it like for you to be this guy who's had this deep fascination with flying saucers? Let me tell you my experience with Bob. Doing this podcast with Bob, I wanted one of two things. I wanted to go, oh, this guy's full of shit. Or it seems like he's not full of shit. I think he's telling the truth. I think this guy really did encounter these aircrafts and really did work on these spaceships, whatever they are. That's where I'm at right now. My experience with him, my communication with him, he didn't seem like he was full of shit at all. He's clearly a brilliant guy. His story has not changed at all over the 30-plus years that he's been saying it. It's a crazy story. But when you're a person like yourself obsessed with this subject, the possibility of alien life that's visited this earth and maybe even left crafts behind, and maybe these crafts are in the possession of some secret government agencies that are trying to observe them and back engineer them. What is it like to talk to this guy? Because this guy has seen the thing you're looking for. This guy, you're searching and all of your wondering and staring out into the heavens, and here's a guy that has actually touched it, actually worked on it, been inside one, tried to figure out how they work, can't do it, doesn't understand it. Is talking to these people. Everything's compartmentalized. You got the metallurgist people that are working on the what kind of alloy this thing is made of. You got him, who's a part of the people that are trying to understand the propulsion system, and then you've got people that are giving you this information that, like, maybe they have been here forever. Maybe this is a part of an archaeological dig. Maybe they've been trying to study these things for decades with no advancement at all.
Yeah. So we came across, myself and a couple other people came across folks who could collaborate some of the things going on out there, such as silent craft actually lifting off at nighttime, not looking as though the control was very good, but actually lifting off, maneuvering like a real small trial kind of thing. And that fellow observed it from a distance where he wasn't supposed to be. George has come up with collaboration, I think, from 2 or 3 other sources also, besides what Bob said, about certain aspects of things out there. It's just that Bob's story is so much more in-depth, so much more detailed, like that book that he talked about years ago coming across. Amazing things.
So what? Tell people about the book.
Well, there was a book that Bob was allowed to look through, or he seized the opportunity to do it when he was in a room where the book was, but I think that was by design. And it was some kind of a holographic book that as you opened up the pages, whatever the stories were became a hologram. That's my recollection of a conversation that's decades old now. You know, if I got it wrong, fire me. It's
I understand.
You know, you'll have to talk to Bob about that, would you?
Okay.
Or talk to George.
Okay.
And because I remember something like that. I mean, that was like, wow, what an amazing way to portray information in some kind of a book and actually have holographic images coming forth out of the, you know, I don't know. It just was, so that I haven't ever heard of that being repeated any place in terms of something else like that happening. And so much that happened to Bob, it was so unique.
There was also some very strange summary of what they understand or what they believe to be true about the origins of human beings, and that they believed that what these visitations were about was that human beings are the product of accelerated evolution, and that these species from wherever had been coming here and doing genetic experiments with primates and created human beings, which is the ultimate, like, who knows, like, wow, that's fun to think about. But we were talking about this last night, like how bizarre humans are, that out of all these things on Earth, we're the only ones with shoes. Out of all these things, we're the only ones that have to wear clothes. We're the only ones that jump into metal boxes with rubber tires and roll around on these hard surfaces that we created, or fly in planes, or send video through your phone to other people that are on the other side of the continent. We're weird. We're real weird. We're way weirder than anything else that exists. And if we are really a product of some sort of accelerated process like that, this is how they get the party started on these planets. They find semi-intelligent, curious animals that are using tools or using, you know, opposable thumbs, and they do some things to them.
More evidence for some than others, right? So that's always the trick.
Have you considered that? Is this like a subject that you've deeply considered and thought about?
Not really.
Really?
I'm here. I don't want to look a gift horse in the face. I'll take it for what it is, you know.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I think about it a lot.
I don't know. I think I need more evidence to be more curious about. I'm more concerned about other kinds of things that are now than where did the human species come from, particularly. I'm more driven by other kinds of things that could make a difference today, going forward.
So getting back to the Bob Lazar thing, when you first got to know him and you first were considering this story and how crazy it was, what was it like to meet a guy who, at least by his own accounts, had encountered this thing that you were seeking?
Well, Bob's a likable guy. He, as you said, he's very smart. And so he's interesting to talk to, right?
Yeah.
And that's more than just entertaining. To listen to his story is profound, right? So it gives you an awful lot to think about and to try to position as to how can you measure future information you might get against that story. How can you verify different kinds of things? And so I've heard a lot more silly things, I think, than what Bob was talking about. Didn't seem all that ridiculous. And then the more you get to talk to him, the more you get to know him, and people like George, who's an investigative journalist, it gets more and more